Most men touch women like they're asking for permission. And that's exactly why nothing happens. Because when you reach for her hand, like you're apologizing, when you put your arm around her shoulder, like you're checking if it's allowed, when you touch her back with hesitation in your fingertips, she feels it. Not the touch itself, the doubt behind it. And in that moment, something inside her goes quiet. The part of her that was starting to feel something just stops. Here's what nobody tells you: a mature woman doesn't fall in love with what you say. She doesn't fall in love with how you look or what you do for a living. She falls in love with how you make her feel in her own body when you're near her. And that feeling, it starts with touch, but not the kind most men think. Today, I'm going to show you 7 specific types of touch that bypass her logic, disarm her defenses, and create a kind of emotional gravity she can't walk away from. These aren't tricks. They're not moves. They're the language her nervous system speaks when words fall short. And if you understand this language, you don't chase attraction, you create it. Now, before we go any further, let me be clear about something. This isn't about being aggressive. It's not about making a move or pushing past boundaries. That's the opposite of what works with a woman who's emotionally mature, experienced, and aware of herself. What I'm going to share with you is rooted in attachment psychology, neuroscience, and years of observing what actually creates lasting desire between two people. Not what sounds good in theory, not what works in movies, what works in real life with real women who've been through enough to know the difference between a boy trying to impress her and a man who understands her. Here's the thing: most advice about touch tells you when to do it or where to do it. But nobody talks about the energy behind it, the intent, the presence. And that's where everything changes. Because a mature woman has been touched by men who wanted something from her, men who touched her to prove something, men who touched her because they were nervous or entitled or performing. She's done with all of that. What she's never done with, what she's been waiting for her whole life, is a man who touches her like he's already at peace with himself, like he's not trying to get anywhere, like his touch is an offering, not a request. That's what these 7 touches are about. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand not just how to touch her, but why each one works on a level she can't explain and won't resist. Stick with me, because the 5th one I'm going to share is the one most men will never do. And it's the one that makes her think about you when she's alone. Let's talk about why most men fail at this before they even start. You meet a woman, there's chemistry, you talk, you laugh. Maybe you're out for coffee or drinks, the conversation is good, she's engaged, and then nothing happens. You don't touch her, or if you do, it's timid. A light tap on the arm, a quick brush of the hand, something so safe and neutral that it registers in her mind as nothing. Or maybe you go the other route. You touch too much too soon, too randomly. Touching her lower back when you barely know her name, reaching for her hand when there's no emotional buildup. Hugging her at the end like you're trying to make something happen by force. And in both cases, the result is the same. She doesn't feel anything. Not because she's cold, not because she's not interested, but because your touch didn't match the emotional frequency she was on. It was either invisible or intrusive. Here's the mistake. You think touch is about doing something, so you either overthink it and freeze, or you treat it like a checklist item and force it. But for her, touch isn't an action, it's a conversation. And if you're speaking a language she doesn't recognize, if your touch is saying, "I'm nervous," or "I'm trying to get something from you," then it doesn't matter how attracted she was 5 minutes ago. She'll pull back, not consciously, not always visibly, but energetically, she'll create distance. And once that happens, you're climbing uphill. So let me ask you this. When was the last time you touched a woman and felt her lean into you instead of just tolerating it? When was the last time your touch made her breath change, her posture soften, her attention locked onto you? If the answer is not recent or never, then pay attention. Because what I'm about to show you isn't theory. It's the difference between being forgettable and unforgettable. Before we get into the 7 touches, you need to understand the 3 psychological triggers that make touch actually work with a mature woman. Because without these, you're just going through motions. Trigger number 1, certainty without agenda. A mature woman has been touched by uncertain men her entire life. Men who reach for her but hesitate halfway. Men who touch her while watching her face to see if it's okay. men whose hands feel like questions instead of statements. And every time that happens, her attraction drops. Not because she's judging him, but because uncertainty is the opposite of safety. And safety. Real nervous system level safety is what allows her to feel desire. Here's the paradox most men miss. She doesn't want you to be dominant in a loud, controlling way. She wants you to decide. She wants to feel that when you touch her, you're not asking for approval. You're not trying to get a reaction. You're simply present, grounded, and clear. That doesn't mean you ignore her boundaries. It means you touch her like a man who knows his own value and isn't performing for hers. Think about it. When you touch something you already own, your steering wheel, your phone, your jacket, you don't hesitate. You don't second guess. You just touch it. There's no effort, no trying. That's the energy. And when she feels that in your touch, something ancient in her brain relaxes. Because certainty without agenda is the hallmark of a man who isn't desperate, isn't manipulating, and isn't pretending. It's the first trigger. And without it, nothing else works. Trigger number 2, escalation through stillness. Most men think escalation means doing more, touching more, moving faster, going from hand to waist to shoulder to kiss like it's a staircase you climb. But that's not how her body works. For a mature woman, escalation isn't about quantity. It's about depth. It's not about touching her in more places. It's about staying in one place long enough for her to feel you. Let me explain. When you touch her and immediately move or pull away, her nervous system never gets to process it. It's like a song that cuts off after 2 seconds. No resonance, no impact. But when you touch her and stay, really stay, something different happens. She becomes aware of you, not just physically, emotionally. The longer you stay present in your touch, the more her mind has to catch up to her body. And in that gap, attraction builds. This is where most men lose. They think stillness equals passivity. They think if they're not constantly moving, they're being boring. But here's the truth. Stillness is dominance. It says, I don't need to rush. I don't need to prove anything. I'm comfortable right here. And when she feels that, her body starts to lean into the moment instead of waiting for the next one. That's the second trigger. And once you understand it, everything slows down in the best possible way. Trigger number 3, touch that holds emotion, not intention. This is the one that separates boys from men. A boy touches a woman because he wants something. Sex, validation, a response. His touch is transactional. It has an agenda. And even if he's subtle about it, she feels it. A man touches a woman because he's feeling something, not trying to get her to feel something, not performing affection, actually feeling it. And that emotional honesty, that presence is what makes her melt. Here's why this matters. A mature woman has spent years being touched by men who were in their heads, men who were thinking about what comes next, men who were touching her body while mentally rehearsing their next move. She's exhausted by it. What she's starving for is a man who touches her like he's fully there. Like the touch itself is the point, not a stepping stone to something else. When you touch her from that place, when there's no hidden motive, no script, no performance, she feels seen, not as a body, as a person. And that's when her walls come down because you're not trying to get past her defenses. You're inviting her to drop them. That's the third trigger, and it's the most powerful one. Now let's get into the 7 touches that use these triggers to create a bond she won't forget. The 7 touches. Touch number 1, the grounded palm on her lower back. Not a hover, not a brush, a full grounded palm. When you're walking beside her, entering a restaurant, crossing a street, guiding her through a door, place your palm flat against her lower back. Not your fingertips, your whole hand. And here's the key. Don't rush it. Let your hand rest there for 2, 3, 4 seconds. Long enough that she registers the weight of it. The certainty, this touch says, I'm aware of you, I'm with you, you're safe. It's protective without being possessive, attentive without being clingy, and because it's her lower back, a place most casual acquaintances never touch. It crosses a threshold, it's intimate without being sexual. She feels guided, not controlled, and that distinction is everything. Touch number 2, the slow hand hold with thumb movement. When you hold her hand, don't just grip and go, hold it. Feel the shape of her fingers, and then slowly move your thumb in small circles on the back of her hand or the side of her palm. This is a touch that forces presence. You can't fake it. You can't do it while distracted. It requires you to actually be with her, and she'll feel that. The thumb movement creates a micro moment of intimacy. It's deliberate, it's attentive. It says, I'm not just holding your hand because it's what people do. I'm holding your hand because I want to. This touch works during a quiet moment, walking in silence, sitting side by side, watching something together. It's the kind of touch that makes her glance at you and smile without knowing why. Touch number 3, the forehead or temple touch. This one is underrated. Almost no one does it, and that's exactly why it's powerful. When she's stressed, overwhelmed, or just talking about something vulnerable, reach up and gently touch her forehead or temple with your fingertips or palm. Not for long, just a few seconds. This touch is protective, parental almost, but not in a patronizing way. It communicates. I see you, I'm here. You don't have to hold it all alone. It's deeply comforting. And for a mature woman who's used to being the strong one, the responsible one, the one who holds everyone else together, it's a relief she didn't know she needed. This touch builds emotional safety faster than almost anything else. Touch number 4, the anchored shoulder hold. When she's telling you a story, when you're standing close, when you're saying goodbye, place your hand on her shoulder and let it rest there. Not a quick squeeze, not a pat, a full anchored hold. Look at her while you do it. Be still. Let the moment breathe. This touch says, I'm listening. I'm present. You have my full attention. It's grounding for her, especially if she's used to people half listening or rushing her. And because your hand is still, because you're not fidgeting or moving, it creates a moment of connection that feels more real than 100 compliments. Touch number 5, the two-hand face hold, the game changer. This is the one most men will never do because it requires vulnerability. When the moment is right, when you're close, when there's tension, when you can feel something unspoken hanging in the air, cup her face with both hands, gently, slowly, like you're holding something precious. Look into her eyes. Don't say anything for a beat. Just be there. This touch stops time. It's the most emotionally naked thing you can do because you're not hiding behind casualness. You're not pretending it's accidental. You're fully, completely there. And for her, that level of presence is intoxicating. It says, you matter. This moment matters. I'm not afraid to feel this. Most men avoid this touch because it feels like too much. But that's exactly why it works. She's not looking for safety in the form of distance. She's looking for a man who isn't afraid of intensity. This is that moment. Touch number 6, the waist pull. When you're standing face to face, when there's energy between you, when she's smiling or teasing, place your hand on her waist and gently pull her toward you. Not aggressively, not suddenly, just a slow, deliberate pull that closes the space between you. This touch is confident. It's direct. It says, I want you closer. And because it's her waist, one of the most intimate non-sexual zones, it sends a clear message without words. She'll either lean in or pull back. And either way, you'll know where you stand. But if she leans in, that's when you know you've crossed the threshold from interest to desire. Touch number 7, the goodbye linger. When you hug her goodbye, don't rush it. Hold her for an extra 2 seconds. Let your hand rest on the small of her back. Let your other hand come up to her shoulder blade. And then before you fully let go, let your hand trail slowly down her arm as you step back. This creates what psychologists call a separation ache, a moment where her body misses you before you're even gone. It plants a seed, a question in her mind. Why did that feel different? And that question turns into curiosity, which turns into her thinking about you later, wondering when she'll see you again. That's the power of a well-executed goodbye touch. Now, here's the thing about all 7 of these touches. They only work if you mean them. If you're doing them because you read them in a script, she'll feel the hollowness. If you're doing them to make her fall in love, she'll sense the manipulation. But if you do them because you're genuinely present, because you're feeling something, because in that moment, touching her is the most honest thing you can do, then they become magic. So here's your practice. Start with the ones that feel most natural to you. Maybe it's the handhold, maybe it's the lower back. Don't try to force all 7 in one interaction. Just pick one. Do it with full presence. And notice what happens. Notice how she responds. not just with her words, with her body, with her breath, with the way she looks at you afterward, and then build from there. Because once you understand this language, once you realize that touch is how she feels, your confidence, your presence, your emotional groundedness, everything changes. You stop trying to convince her with words, you start showing her with your hands. Now, if this resonated with you, if you're starting to see how much of attraction happens in the unspoken moments, I want to invite you to go deeper. I've put together a free guide that breaks down the psychology of masculine presence and how it shapes the way women respond to you, not just physically, emotionally. It's called The Grounded Man Blueprint, and it covers everything from body language to conversational energy to the internal shifts that make you naturally magnetic. You can grab it in the description below. No gimmicks, just real insight because the men who understand this really understand it. Don't chase women. They create the conditions where women choose them. Here's what I want you to remember. A mature woman doesn't fall in love with what you do. She falls in love with who you are when you're with her. And touch is how she feels that truth, not your words, not your promises, your touch. So be present, be certain, be emotionally honest, and touch her like a man who knows that the moment he's in right now is the only one that matters. If this shifted something in you, hit that subscribe button, drop a comment, and let me know which of these 7 touches surprised you most. And remember, attraction isn't something you create by trying harder. It's something you allow by being more fully yourself. I'll see you in the next